well, you have all of this. Like, why do you want this little piece of what I have? And it all boils down to they don't even really want it. They just don't want you to have it. Bible betrayals. Hi everybody, welcome back to Level Uploading, Fight Feelings, Face Facts with yours truly, Shay. Popping in quick, guys. Popping in quick. So the other day I was reading the word and I just got a new study Bible. I am so loving it. Like, don't get me wrong, I love being able to use my app or even my New Living Translation. Like, I have a hard copy, but I needed a study Bible. I needed context. I needed things to ruminate on. I needed things to consider. I needed story. I needed application. And I needed more context. So I'm really loving this NIV version of the Bible for a study Bible for women. And so I was reading about Solomon and his wise ruling. That can be found in 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 16 through 28. I might just go ahead and read it and tell you my thoughts. Now 2 prostitutes came to the king and stood before him. One of them said, "Pardon me, my lord. This woman and I live in the same house, and I had a baby while she was there with me. The 3rd day after my child was born, this woman also had a baby. We were alone. There was no one in the house but the 2 of us. During the night, this woman's son died because she lay on him. So she got up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while your servant was asleep. She put him by her breast and put her dead son by my breast. The next morning, I got up to nurse my son and he was dead. But when I looked at him closely in the morning light, I saw that it wasn't my son I had born." The other woman said, "No, the living one is my son. The dead one is yours." But the first one insisted, "No, the dead one is yours. The living one is mine." And so they argued before the king. The king said, this is King Solomon, by the way, "This one says my son is alive and your son is dead, while this one says, no, your son is dead and mine is alive." Then the king said, "Bring me a sword." So they brought a sword for the king. He then gave an order, "Cut the living child in 2 and give half to one and half to the other." The woman whose son was alive was deeply moved out of love for her son and said to the king, "Please, my lord, give her the living baby. Don't kill him." But the other one said, "Neither I nor you shall have him. Cut him in 2. Then the king gave his ruling, "Give the living baby to the first woman. Do not kill him. She is his mother." When all Israel heard the verdict the king had given, they held the king in awe because they saw that he had wisdom from God to administer justice. Okay, so I have to get that out the way real quick. As I was reading this, I got this revelation. And this is something I've experienced in my life as a person who has always been extremely humble, has always tried to be, not to think super too highly of themselves or not to take themselves super seriously. I have experienced this myself. It's not that they want it as much as they don't want you to have it. So there are people out here in this world who either they might want what you have, maybe they do, maybe they don't, who knows. But more than anything, even if they don't have it, they want to ensure that you don't get it. And they will do anything to make sure that happens. A lot of times, those people are usually people who are close to us. These 2 prostitutes trust each other enough to be living in the same space, having their babies in the same area. I don't know if they were best friends or rivals, but they had a level of trust to be able to go to sleep around each other, to have children around each other. So, that's a level of closeness. And you have to think about that. For the one mother who accidentally or whatever, unalived her child, she wanted to just go ahead and steal this lady's baby. Instead of to own up to her mistake and mourn it, she said, "I'm going to take what you have." And then when it came to the he say, she say, when it came down to Solomon said, "Hey, well, we're going to just cut him in half then. How about that? You get half, you get half." And then it was like, well, okay, yeah, well, you won't have him, I won't have him. That's fair, because you already knew that you don't have the baby. You don't get it, I don't get it. I'm happy because that was the plan all along. The plan was to keep you from your stuff. And I'm not saying this exact example that's the case, because obviously we don't have a lot of context about who these women are outside of this quick excerpt of the Bible. But I'm talking about in everyday real life reality. There are people whose whole assignment is to get close to you, to be in areas and spaces where they can either take what you have, that's where they'll start, or to keep you from getting what you're supposed to have. And they don't care if they even get it. It kind of reminds me of, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but like, I remember when I was in college, Popeye's Chicken downtown, it was a Popeye's over there, and this Popeye's would throw their chicken out at the end of the night. This chicken didn't get sold, this chicken didn't get bought. They wouldn't take the chicken to a shelter to help feed all these homeless people walking around Chicago. They wouldn't give it to the homeless man that's sitting across the street, you know, shaking his cup and looking dirty and like he hasn't eaten in days. They weren't even allowed to, the employees weren't even allowed to take the chicken home to their families who were living off this minimum wage job, who could have used, you know, I mean, Popeye's not the most healthy option, but you know, whatever, to each his own. You know, if you don't have nothing in your house but ramen noodles and some bread, you know, that Popeye's would have came in really good handy for a family that probably needed it. But guess what? Popeye's Corporation said, no, you can't do that. Throw that chicken out. You didn't buy it, then you can't get it. Put it in the trash. So it's not that they don't have any use for it. They're not going to try to resell it. They're not trying to keep it. They just don't want you to have it. And that right there, once I got the revelation, it really made sense to me, because throughout my life, I have had people who have had more than me, much more than me, better opportunities, better financial situations, better on paper, you know, status, better popularity, more of everything. And they still would somehow try to steal whatever little light I had, or whatever opportunity I had, they would try to overshadow it, or whatever attention I got, they would try to take from it. And it was like, well, you have all of this, like, why do you want this little piece of what I have? And it all boils down to, they don't even really want it, they just don't want you to have it. And it's so absurd to me that we sit here and we have these people in our close proximity, people who we think we can trust, people who we go to sleep with our newborn babies with us, and we think we're in a good company, and we think that we're safe, and we trust them enough at the very least to not harm us. Because if that woman was truly thought that this was somebody who would snake her, she would not be going to sleep. She would sat up all night with her newborn. She would have been watching or trying to find somewhere else to rest and sleep. But she's like, oh, well, I know her. Okay, I can go ahead and get some shut-eye. Not knowing the type of person who she had in her circle. She's letting her guard down, and it's somebody that's coming in to take from her, to become an obstacle and to take from her. And in Solomon's wisdom of knowing, hey, this mother cares so much about this baby that she would rather just give him away than to have him unalived in front of her like that. She would rather be in sorrow and mourning of watching her child be raised by some other woman than to have him harmed. That is wisdom, you know what I mean? So when we care about stuff, we project ourselves sometimes and think, oh, well, I would never do that. And we don't think people would do us like that, but people can and they will do us like that. And you have to understand that. There are people, there are co-workers who are smiling in your face, but they're reporting everything you do. There's people at your job who are, you know, making small talk, friendly talk with you, but they're going back and saying, well, they don't do anything. What are they actually doing over there? Not knowing that you just know how to handle your load, right? Not knowing that you just make things look easier than what they actually are. But because you're not stressing and running around with a chicken with your head cut off like everybody else, they take that and they say, well, I don't want them to have peace. I don't got peace. I'm stressed. I go home every night and go take 5 shots of whiskey. I'm stressed. I don't want them to have peace. Let me go and report them, and let me go bring to their manager's attention that they, you know, they don't seem like they have enough workload, or they don't seem like they're giving it their all. It's not that they want it. They just don't want you to have it. I hope that gives you guys something to think about. And in your daily interactions, just please understand that a lot of this stuff is spiritual, and sometimes it may seem like it's the person, and sometimes every now and then it may actually be. But for the most part, a lot of this is spiritual attacks, and it is a person being used as a vessel from the enemy to get intel from you, to get close to you, to find out things about you. It's not always that person. So have more grace for people. Understand that a lot of times these people are just empty vessels that are unfortunately being used by the enemy. And until they become occupied by the Holy Spirit, they will continue to be a vacant house. There will be an abandoned home. Get people around you that have an occupant in their domicile. We're not befriending, we're not marrying, we're not being around vacant, abandoned buildings. Okay? Dangerous things happen in abandoned buildings. Trauma, darkness, and horrible things happen in abandoned buildings. And on that note, I'm going to talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye.